start off by telling you a little bit about how we got started because it actually happened 20 years ago this year, and it's a crazy story. The first thing that happened was, not by the way, Honest Reporting is a nonprofit organization. We're supported entirely by donations from small individual donors, just people like you, not you high school students, but maybe some of the older folks here who are already making a living. And the way we got started was in the year 2000, 20 years ago. The Second Intifada was going on, and this picture appeared here in the New York Times. Let's see if I can share the screen here. This picture right here was what appeared in the New York Times. It was published in Associated Press, so it made it into all sorts of newspapers all over the world. And you can look, it says right here, the caption, an Israeli policeman and a Palestinian on the Temple Mount. And if you look up any, this is sort of the analysis we do. The first thing we do at Honest Reporting is just say, if I look at this article and I see something right off the bat that's wrong or inconsistent, I already know that something's off and I can look deeper. And then we do background research and say, okay, what isn't being shown here that should be? So the first thing you look is if you look over the right shoulder of the police officer. I'm sure there's some of you here who can read and speak Hebrew. I know we've got some yeshiva bochers here. So if you look over his right shoulder, you'll see it says right there, "leliter soler," which means the price per liter for diesel fuel, and so right off the bat, remember it says this is on the Temple Mount. You've been to the Temple Mount, there isn't a gas station on the Temple Mount. So right off the bat, that the caption editor really doesn't know what they're doing in the sense of understanding the Middle East. But that's not the worst thing here. Is the kid with the blood on his face over there that you see in the picture, that's not a Palestinian. That's a Jewish kid from Chicago named Tuvia Grossman who came to Israel to study in yeshiva. And the soldier behind him, he's holding up his club to ward off this mob of Palestinians that was attacking him. So the soldier is actually protecting this kid from getting beaten to death. And the soldier is a member of the Border Patrol. He's actually a Druze guy, which Druze, I don't know if you're familiar with the culture, but their main language is Arabic, and sometimes they self-identify as Arab, sometimes they don't. But to me, it's very touching because the New York Times got everything exactly backwards. This is an Arab-speaking Druze member of the Israeli armed forces protecting a Jewish American kid from a Palestinian mob. And I always like to say this conflict we talk about in the Middle East, it's not Jews versus Arabs. It's not Israelis versus Palestinians. And this picture shows all that. It's people who care about peace and coexistence against people who want to destroy peace and coexistence. And that's exactly what we see in this picture. And it really should have been a touching picture that shows people who care working to work for peace and safety. But instead, they have this caption that is not only untrue, but just completely inverts the whole situation. And the problem was that the New York Times and the Associated Press had a narrative that they wanted to tell, and they were not going to let the truth interfere with a good story. And the people so some people saw this picture, including Tuvia Grossman's father, who was horrified. And they started an email campaign. This was a little bit before social media really took off. So they started an email list and like a chain letter and got a lot of people to write in to the New York Times and to the Associated Press to demand that they change the photo caption, and they succeeded. And that list of people became the seeds of Honest Reporting, which even today is still based on that power of grassroots movements. It's about people who, when we'll write a critique of an article and we'll issue a little call to action, say, hey, write to the editor of this newspaper and share your thoughts. And it really does make a difference, and we managed to actually make changes.